our time with Carolina Coral in the studio. I welcome Freedom viewers, and let's get straight to the important news. So, the Netherlands will make a significant contribution to supplying Ukraine with American Patriot air defense systems. This was announced by the Dutch Defense Minister, Ruben Brekelmans. During an online meeting in the Ramstein format, the minister reminded that the Netherlands is independently providing Ukraine with additional air defense assets, specifically F-16 munitions, counter-drone equipment, and radars. In a statement on the website of the Dutch Ministry of Defense, the head of the department is quoted as saying that Russia's aerial terror campaign has recently reached new levels, since, according to Brekelmans, Russia's goal is simple: to break the unyielding Ukrainian people. We cannot allow this to happen. That is why we want to make a significant contribution to additional air defense for Ukraine. Much has already been done, but more is needed. Only by continuing to support Ukraine tirelessly and on a large scale, and by increasing pressure on Russia, will we force it to come to the negotiating table. Ukraine is defending the front line against Russian aggression for all of Europe. If Russia manages to break through, it will immediately pose a major threat to the rest of Europe and NATO. Ruben Brekelmans, Minister of Defense of the Netherlands, from a statement on the ministry's website. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, following an online meeting in the Ramstein format, called on the defense ministers of NATO member countries to buy more weapons from the United States to support Ukraine. In his address on the alliance's website, Rutte emphasized the importance of the initiative that he and Donald Trump announced last week, and pointed out that by purchasing weapons for Ukraine, NATO countries will be able to simultaneously achieve three key objectives that were set at the Alliance Summit in The Hague. This and other initiatives bring together three key decisions made by leaders at the NATO summit in The Hague just a few weeks ago: increasing investment in defense, ramping up defense production, and supporting Ukraine. The goal of all NATO security assistance to Ukraine is to end the conflict as soon as possible and achieve a just and lasting resolution. Mark Rutte, NATO Secretary General, during his speech at the online meeting of the Ukraine Defense Contact Group. The Russian Federation plans to spend more than $1 trillion on its own rearmament by 2036. This was stated by the head of Ukraine's military intelligence, Kyrylo Budanov. According to him, Russia is now planning the largest rearmament program since the collapse of the Soviet Union. In particular, as part of the military reform in the Russian Federation, two new military districts have already been created, the Moscow and Leningrad districts, and the formation of new divisions, units, and military formations is also planned. There is a total mobilization of Russia's politics, economy, and society to prepare for a large-scale upcoming war. Russia is striving to destroy the current economic order and security. Moscow's goal is to impose its own vision of the future world order on other countries, where large states, first and foremost the Russian Federation, hold all the power, have a monopoly on all critical resources, and decide the fate of the world within a closed circle. Kyrylo Budanov, head of the main intelligence directorate of the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense, speaking at the annual meeting of Ukrainian ambassadors. In the new Russian drones, almost all component parts are of Chinese origin. This was established by the main intelligence directorate of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine. There, they revealed the technical components of the drone that the Russian army has recently started using to detect the positions of Ukrainian air defense and to overload it. In terms of design, it is essentially a scaled-down version of the Shahid and can also carry a warhead weighing up to 15 kilograms. All the drone's electronics, as well as most of its mechanical parts, are manufactured by Chinese companies. Last night, Russia launched 42 drones at Ukraine from the directions of Primorsko-Akhtarsk in Russia and Chauda, Gvardiskoy in temporarily occupied Crimea. This was reported by the Air Force of Ukraine. Air Defense Forces shot down or suppressed 26 Shahid-type UAVs, and 7 drones were lost from radar and suppressed by electronic warfare systems. There were 9 drone strikes recorded in 3 locations, and the crash of downed drones also occurred in 3 locations. A 10-year-old child was killed, and 8 more people were injured as a result of Russia's attack on Kramatorsk. The enemy army struck a multi-story residential building with a high-explosive aerial bomb. This was reported by the city administration. In addition, 16 more residential buildings and 4 educational institutions were damaged. There are also casualties in Sloviansk due to the Russian strike. There, 2 aerial bombs hit the city center. 4 people were injured. 12 apartment buildings and 2 administrative buildings were damaged. 1 person was injured as a result of the overnight Russian attack on Odesa. A 41-year-old local woman suffered a blast injury and was hospitalized. According to the prosecutor's office, the city was attacked by at least 12 strike UAVs. One of them hit the basement floor of a residential complex. A fire broke out there. Commercial properties were also affected. More on the aftermath of the attack in Ksenia Sitynskaya's report. According to the regional prosecutor's office, on the night of July 22nd, the Russian army attacked Odesa with 12 strike UAVs. One of them hit the basement floor of a residential complex. A fire started. Cars parked in the lot caught fire.
About 20 cars were completely burned. Denis's car was among them. He bought it last year.
When the air raid alert started and the air defense kicked in, we heard an explosion. We were already in the parking lot. Unfortunately, my car was damaged. Well, it's okay. Thank God we're still alive. As you can see, the neighbors' windows were blown out. Everything was thrown around. We were a bit lucky with our apartment in that regard. But the car is damaged.
Alexander's car was also badly damaged in the attack. He bought it in 2022. He says it's probably not worth repairing the car. The damage is just too severe.
A friend called and said something hit right on the spot. And I knew my car was parked there. When the firefighters put out the fire, I went outside and saw that my car was damaged. If you go by the insurance assessment, the car is a total loss.
And this is what one of the sports clubs looks like after the attack. All the windows in the halls are blown out, and the floor is covered with shards of glass.
We had a cat living here since the club opened. I brought him here as a kitten. The cat was carried out. He's alive and well. People are safe. The security guard by the gazebo was nearby, and he's fine too. That's the most important thing. Of course, it's really upsetting. We'll rebuild. Unfortunately, the blast damaged the ceiling here, and that's the only thing, just this spot, but I think we'll restore everything else.
Boxing coach Adam Kameyev says he lives not far from the site of the attack, and was actually getting ready for training that morning.
I heard it loud and clear. Honestly, I spend all day in the gym from morning till night. My gym is busy, thanks to work goes on from morning till night. But yesterday I woke up. My grandson was with me. My grandson is 2 years old. He came over and grabbed my leg, and I heard those explosions. But I didn't think it was at the gym. I didn't think so. At 6 in the morning, my first training session starts at 7. I drop everything. My coach calls me. Did you hear? No, I didn't. They hit the gym. That's how I found out. It hurts that things are done for people like this, that people are treated this way. That's what it is. I think, well, God will help the owner restore it quickly, and we'll start over again. Life will go on. Ukraine should live with dignity, and Odesa even more so. We go outside, look around, people are living, people are walking, and yet someone is preventing us from living peacefully in the 21st century. That's what's upsetting.
Also, due to the drone explosion, the local supermarket, shops, and a cafe were damaged. A 41-year-old local woman suffered mine explosive injuries. She was taken to the hospital. Ksenia Sitynskaya, Konstantin Kravitz from Odesa for Freedom TV channel.
The third round of negotiations with the Russian Federation and Turkey is scheduled for tomorrow, July 23rd. President Volodymyr Zelensky announced this following a meeting on the results Ukraine needs from the negotiation process. The Ukrainian delegation will be headed by the Secretary of the National Security and Defense Council, Rustem Umerov. The delegation will also include representatives from intelligence, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and the Office of the President of Ukraine. Also, according to Zelensky, another prisoner exchange is being prepared.
This is a difficult area, and we all understand that truly effective negotiations can only take place at the level of the leaders. Right now, our representatives are preparing at least one more exchange with Russia. And the Secretary of the National Security and Defense Council, Rustem Umerov, has proposed to the Russian side to hold a new meeting of representatives in Turkey. The agenda for the meeting is clear to us: the return of prisoners, the return of children abducted by Russia, and the preparation of a meeting between the leaders. I ask you to inform the countries where you are stationed about the necessity of exactly this negotiation approach, exactly this agenda, and to provide Ukraine with the necessary political support.
At the same time, Volodymyr Zelensky held a meeting to prepare for new prisoner exchanges with the Russian Federation. According to him, Ukraine has managed to significantly step up prisoner exchanges over the past few months. Among those released are people who were considered missing, as well as those who had been held in Russian prisons and camps before Russia's full-scale invasion.
We are expecting several stages of exchanges to fulfill the agreements from the second meeting in Istanbul, and we are continuing our other efforts to free our people, both military and civilian. This work is being coordinated by the Secretary of the National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine. All necessary forces and institutions have been involved. We must restore justice. To achieve this, we are working on all levels: legal, political, and special operations. Volodymyr Zelensky, President of Ukraine, on Telegram.
Turkey hopes that a third round of negotiations between Russia and Ukraine will take place. This was stated by the country's foreign minister, Hakan Fidan. And according to him, steps are expected to be taken to strengthen mutual trust between the parties. They must deliver concrete results.
This week, there will be intense diplomatic activity in Istanbul. We hope that a third round of negotiations between Russia and Ukraine will take place. Our goal is to ensure that the parties continue to communicate with each other. Hakan Fidan, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Turkey.
The Russian dictator Putin will agree to sit down at the negotiating table with Ukraine only in the event of crushing defeats of the Russian army at the front. This is stated in a report by the American Institute for the Study of War. Analysts noted that only timely and sufficient military assistance from Western countries to Ukraine, and as a result, significant defeats for Russia on the battlefield, can force Putin to abandon the idea of achieving victory by military means. As an example of one of the factors putting pressure on the Kremlin leader, the Institute cites the 50-day deadline set by U.S. President Donald Trump for Putin, demanding that he sit down at the negotiating table.